Hey everyone, Dan from Telestats here. This is the prediction video for the second semi-final now. We're going to go through the countries, we're going to go through the stats, we're going to go through the polls, we're going to go through even the streams, and hopefully work out who's going to qualify. Just like the last video, let's make things nice and simple. Let's talk about the people that I think are definitely going to qualify. That's Greece, Finland, Bulgaria, Switzerland, San Marino, and Iceland. I did a video on Switzerland where I expressed skepticism that it would win Eurovision. Having now seen the rehearsals, that position hasn't changed. He does a lot of weird kind of dancing. He does a lot of very creepy smiling into the camera. It just doesn't work. If he had Bulgaria's staging, I think he'd probably do quite well. But as it is, he will qualify from the semi, but I don't think he's going to win Eurovision. Similarly with Bulgaria, people do have high hopes for it, but I stand by my position that it just feels a little bit slow, it's a little bit dreary. And again, yes, it will qualify, but I have doubts that it will win Eurovision. I do want to touch on Greece though. I didn't make a video specifically for Greece, but I remember watching the official video for the very first time and thinking it was very, very good. I think it strikes that right balance between Eurovision camp, Eurovision cheesy. It's not too cheap, the pop music. I think it's very accessible. Yeah, I think it's actually a very, very strong entry. And then when we watched the rehearsals this week, they've got a unique staging concept with the disembodied people dancing around her. There were a few issues with parts of their bodies reappearing when it wasn't green enough, but ultimately I think it's still very memorable, very original. And Stefania looks fantastic. I think she sounds great. It all comes together really, really well. And just to back that up, I'm not the only one that feels this way. The OGAE polls have Greece actually winning their second semi-final and coming third in the final. A real dark horse. No one's really been talking about Greece, so it's surprising to see them so high up in the rankings here. Now, we shouldn't take this particular poll completely seriously, but nor should we disregard it. I'm looking at it right now. I think Greece is a potential top 10 in the final. And as for YouTube views, Greece got the third most views in their first rehearsal and actually got the top most views in their second rehearsal. The first rehearsal, it didn't have the green screen effect. The dancers around her were just wearing normal white clothes. It didn't look that interesting. But in the second rehearsal video, you saw how it would actually look live, you know, with the guys with their bodies disappeared. It looked interesting. It was a cool concept. So obviously it got a lot of views. And just a note on the YouTube views, Greece is a country that generally overperforms because of the Greek diaspora. So don't take it too seriously, these stats. I mean, they caught me out in the past actually, but because I like the song and there's other evidence to suggest that the song is actually doing very well, I'm going to have faith here that Greece is actually doing well and may do well in the final too. As for Iceland, it feels like the only potential spanner in the works here. It could get a huge televote, or it could just be, you know, you could just leave people bemused when they're watching it. I think the song is okay. It's fun to listen to, it's fun to watch for sure. But when you have France and you have Italy and you have lots of what I would regard as quality songs, it would be a shame, I think, if Iceland did go on to win Eurovision. So again, Iceland qualifies and I'm expecting maybe a top 10 finish. So with what I regard as the 6 definite qualifiers, we now have 11 countries going for those last 4 positions. And the interesting thing about this semi-final is that I think there is a clear divide between the quality, the definite qualifiers, and the not so good. And all the not so good songs are bunched together. I'm just bringing up now an image of the Spotify streams for all the songs in this year's Eurovision. And in the bottom third of this image, the lowest Spotify streams, I put an arrow next to the countries that are competing in this semi-final. And what do you see? There's 17 countries competing in this semi. I've just taken out 6 of them as ones that I think are going to qualify. That leaves 11, and yet 9 of them are all bunched together here at the bottom of the Spotify streams. So it's not going to be easy to untangle which ones of these are going to qualify. Let's go through some of the countries that I don't think will qualify. The first is Poland, universally panned. Latvia, she does sing it well, but I just find it a very, very difficult song to sit through. What else? Georgia, absolutely no hope. Estonia, no hope. Denmark has good Spotify scores, and that's about it really. It has the pimp slot in semi 2, but I still feel like opposing it, to be honest with you. It's just so bad that it has to be opposed. Now with 6 countries that I feel will qualify and 5 countries that I feel won't qualify, we now have 6 countries to work our way through and see if we can get 4 qualifiers out of them. The first country is Serbia. They've done fairly okay in some of their stats on the MyEurovisionScoreboard polls, for example, and on the YouTube stats. As for the song itself, I'm just not feeling it. As it is though, I think they've got probably just about enough support to qualify. Now I want to talk about Austria and Moldova because I think they are 2 opposites really. Moldova for me feels like a very, very plastic, cheap pop. I kind of class it with Matahari, just meaningless, fun sounding, but really nothing to it. But with regards to Austria, it's kind of a boring song, but he sings it very well. It sounds like something that you would hear in the West End, for example. Austria's stats have been pretty terrible, to be honest, but they are next to each other in the odds to qualify for this semi. Moldova just ahead of Austria. I think that with the quality that Austria brings, they should get some jury points that Moldova lacks. So I'm going to make a prediction that Austria qualify, Moldova doesn't qualify. That leaves Albania, Czech Republic and Portugal fighting for 2 spaces left to qualify in my predictions. Looking at the stats, Portugal have done either a mix of very, very badly or okay. On the OGAE poll, they are 8th favourites, so they are in qualification for the OGAE poll. But for YouTube views and all that kind of stuff, really haven't done very well at all. However, I quite like the song. Of the groups that I can think of, I'm thinking like Belgium, I would much rather listen to Portugal's song. So I'm going to tentatively say it qualifies. And this brings us down to Albania and the Czech Republic. These are 2 songs that I don't really like, I don't really dislike. I just kind of wait for them to finish. But Albania has a lead in the odds, it has a lead in the app stats, it has a lead in the YouTube views, it has a lead in the WeWeBlogs poll. So I am going to go for Albania to qualify and the Czech Republic to not qualify. Ultimately, of the songs that I struggled with here, outside the 6 that I immediately put as qualifiers, none of these are going to be a threat in the final. I think most of them will be on the right-hand side of the board, to be honest with you. It's just a question of trying to make money out of the qualification markets. As for the winners market, you've got Iceland, Bulgaria and Switzerland at the top of the market there, and they're all neck and neck, 3 point something in the odds. It's very, very difficult to call here. You've got Switzerland, which has the best running order slot, but I find it's the weakest of the 3. You've got Bulgaria, which feels like maybe the highest quality one, maybe the one that will get the jury points, but then you have Iceland, which I think will get the televote points. So if I had to pick 2, I would say Bulgaria and Iceland, but I don't know if I could pick between them as to who's going to win the actual semi. As a very long shot, you may even be tempted to bet on Greece to win the second semi-final. They're currently 14-1. And based on the stats that we've seen, they could actually challenge, and 14-1 is a very good price. You have, like I said, Bulgaria maybe getting the jury love, you have Iceland maybe getting the televote love, but I think Greece is that kind of middle ground that will do well with the juries and the televote, so maybe they will come in and challenge. That's a long shot bet, but it could be a winner, that one. I don't normally get involved with the last place markets, but I've been doing quite a lot of stats crunching, not just stuff that's shown on telly stats, but other stuff as well. I would be tempted by Georgia for last place, possibly Poland, maybe as a saver, maybe as a break even on Poland, but Georgia would be my main play here. I don't think this video is going to be quite as controversial as my last video. Your picks, you may have 1 or 2 differences, but I think most people's are going to be more or less the same. Let me know what you think, comment below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter @TeddyStats, maybe follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I never really post to those, but follow us on there anyway. And I'll be back after the semis to do a post-mortem on them, as well as a look into the grand final, and I shall see you then. Cheers.